Girl mindset. What a topic. Greetings to you all. My name is Khonte Matawi and please borrow me your time to grow your mindset as a student teacher. Educational psychology is a branch of psychology that is concerned with understanding and improving how students acquire a variety of capabilities through formal instruction in the classroom settings. Learning about educational psychology will help me become a better teacher. As we know that teaching is a complex enterprise, meaning it's not simple or straightforward. Imagine a teacher have a daily responsibility for diverse population of students with varied and sometimes contradictory needs or making decisions before and after instruction as well as spot on. That's not good. It is said that a good teaching is partly art and partly science. When they say teaching as an art, they mean a way of teaching involves intangibles such as emotions, values, and flexibility, which dominates the right brain expression. When we say it's teaching as a science, we mean a way of teaching based on applications of scientific research, which dominates the left brain expression. Reflective teaching, meaning blending of artistic and scientific elements. I will be a reflective teacher because I will possess an introspective orientation. I will be open-minded but questionable by my learners about my educational theories and practices. I will be willing to take responsibility for every decision I make and action I take. Ways to become a reflective teacher, and I will use them through my teaching practice. I will use the suggestions for teaching from each chapter to gather ideas. I will try the suggestions out during my lessons. I will use the journal entries from each chapter to help me guide observation notes of myself and my students. I will analyze the observation notes for strengths and weaknesses. After each teaching episode, I will think about it, write down the assessment of how I did it. This is known as a formative assessment, meaning gaining insight into the effectiveness of my teaching and constantly monitoring my student and progress. The neuroscience of learning, understanding the brain, understanding how the brain works, how the brain functions, and the brain structure. The central nervous system, CNS, is composed of the brain and the spinal cord. CNS is the body's central mechanism for control of voluntary behavior. Behaviors, talking, for example, thinking and acting, the way you think and the way you act. Let me jump to the brain structure and function. Firstly, I'll start by the occipital lobe. The primary concern of occipital lobe is with processing visual information. Visual information talking about pictures, for example. Also known as visual cortex. Many functions of occipital lobe involves determining motion, the color in pink, yellow, purple, the depth, the distance, and other visual features. Importance of visual processing in learning. Secondly, the parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is at the top of the brain and is responsible for sense of touch and help determine body position and integrate visual information. The third one is temporal lobe. That one is located on the side of the cerebrum and is responsible for processing auditory information. And last one, frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is located at the front of the cerebrum. Is the largest part of the cortex. Frontal lobe central functions are to process information relating for memory, planning, decision making, goal setting, and creativity. And it's the primary motor cortex that regulates muscular movement. I will tell you about the two hemispheres that the brain have. Actually, the brain is divided into two hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Let me start by talking about the left hemisphere. The left brain is the logical brain responsible for words, logic, numbers, analysis, list, linearity, sequence, and it controls the right of your body, the right side of your body. Left hemisphere controls the right side of your body, which is vice versa. left hemisphere control the right side. Number 2 is the right hemisphere. The right brain is creative brain and is responsible for rhythm, spatial awareness, color, imagination, daydreaming, holistic awareness, and dimension, and it controls the left side of your body. The right brain controls the left side of your body. Factors that influence the brain development are genetics, environmental stimulation, nutrition, and steroids. Genetics meaning that they determine size, structure, and neural connection of the brain. Environmental stimulation meaning that brain development requires stimulation from the environment. The brain development may lag when experiences are missing or minimum. Nutrition. Lack of nutrition has major effect on brain development. Latent malnutrition slows cell growth. Pregnant women should avoid drugs and alcohol. Steroids refer to a class of hormones that affect several functions including sexual development and stress reaction. Can affect brain development in various ways. As a teacher, I will have to treat all learners the same, but also remember that the IQ level and the brain development of every learner is unique, as their genetics differ. I have to accommodate all learners because some will be slow learners and some will be fast learners, so I must not exclude those whose brains function slow. Being a reflective teacher to me means that understanding my learners and understanding how their brains function. By understanding that, I will be able to know if they can answer certain questions or cannot answer certain questions. That will help me to know if they will pass or fail at the end of the day. I am going to explain the process I followed to create my model of human brain. I started by getting a blank page and write on top with capital letters human brain using bright different colors. Then I started drawing human brain model or structure, and I divided my human brain model into 6 parts. I then gathered my ingredients, which are carrot leaves, carrots, beetroot, sampan rice, green pepper, and macaroni, and a knife and a small bowl. I started taking out carrot leaves from the carrot. Then I started slicing and chopping carrots, green peppers, and beetroot. I filled all 6 parts with my vegetable and stem. For example, for frontal lobe, I filled with carrot leaves. For temporal lobe, I filled with carrots. For brainstem, I filled with beetroot. For cerebellum, I filled with sampan rice. For occipital lobe, I filled with green pepper. And for parietal lobe, I filled with macaroni. The process was difficult, but I enjoyed and learned a lot from that. I decided to use these ingredients because I wanted my human brain model to be bright and beautiful, and indeed it turned out the way I wanted and the way I hoped. 3 aspects that I have learned relating to the brain in general and my brain. I have learned that young children's brains are dense and have many complex neural connections, and more than any time in life. I learned that my left brain actually controls the right side of my body, and the right brain controls the left side of my body. Lastly, I learned that as a pregnant woman, you should not use drugs or drink alcohol, and you must always avoid being stressed because it will affect the child brain development. 2 questions that I still have relating to the brain or my own brain functioning. Number 1, how does the brain and the spinal cord communicate? Secondly, how does information know where to be stored? For example, maths and science to the left side of the brain and beliefs and feelings to the right side of the brain. And what is going on with the brain if someone is mentally disturbed? Does it mean that the frontal lobe is placed at the parietal lobe or temporal lobe is at the frontal lobe by mistake? I don't know. One aspect that I found interesting that I have tried in terms of training my own brain is to meditate. I found meditating interesting because I have never done it before and I did not know it helps to train the brain. I tried to meditate twice this week because I was stressed, depressed, and under a lot of pressure. I had a lot of assignments that were due in a short space of time and my brain was not functioning well. Then I decided to meditate. After meditating, negative thoughts moved through my brain and I achieved a state of calmness. All the stress was reduced, pain and depression, and I was free and able to focus. Now if I experience stress, pain, depression and feel under a lot of pressure, I will meditate because I saw that it helps to train the brain.